Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here today with the Vampire Counts, going to be taking a look at their race-specific lore of magic, the lore of vampires, and who better to teach us than the Master Necromancer himself, Heinrich Kemmler, here leading this vampire force. Today we're going to be taking on the Green Skins, who is actually being played by Axore, I'm not 100% sure, actually one of the League players, so we're definitely in for a good time. Let's go ahead and take a look at the army composition overall. Of course, we've got Kemmler. We're taking what I consider to be the bread and butter spells of this lore of magic, which is, of course, Invocation of Nehek, one of the best heals in the game. Not only heals units, but also resurrects unit models, so it's very, very good, very efficient as well. 6 Winds of Magic for the base, which is a single target, or you can overcast it for 12 Winds of Magic for the Area of Effect version. We've also got Dance Macabre, which is a really nice cheap buff spell, 24% speed and 26 melee attack, as well as the Raise Dead. 7 charges of zombies, or if you overcast it, skeletons. Can be very, very useful, helps give you lots of extra bodies and hit points to soak through. In addition, Kemmler's also got his own special ability here, the Lord of Undeath, which of course summons Krell, so we're going to be doing that at some point. I've also brought the Cloak of Mists and Shadows, which is an item he has. Gives him 75% physical resistance and Strider if someone's trying to goon Kemmler. Can be very useful to have. We've got his other item here as well, the Chaos Tomb Blade, which gives an Area of Effect healing. If he's in melee, gives healing, plus 5 melee attack. Very, very nice. The lore attribute for Lore of Undeath is the Lore of Vampires is the Curse of Undeath. It resurrects map-wide, heals combatants, so similar to some of the other lore attributes we've seen that heal map-wide. But this one, of course, resurrects unit models as well. And, of course, being a Necromancer, he's got the Master of the Dead, Area of Effect, Regeneration Aura, so lots of healing coming from Kemmler. To help augment that even more, we've got an Unholy Lodestone Corpse Cart and a Mortis Engine. Frontline is going to be 3 Skeleton Warriors with 2 Skeleton Spears, a couple of Crypt Ghouls. These guys are going to be pretty good against most low armor greenskin infantry. We've also got the Sternsmen, who are a very, very good regiment of renown. Of course, especially since the greenskins don't have any fire damage, they do have their standard regeneration trait, meaning they'll replenish their hit points. Same thing with this regiment of renown Black Knights with lances here, the Varix Reavers. Again, standard regeneration trait. We've also got the Dire Pack Regiment of Renown Anti-Large Hounds, 2 units of Crypt Horrors, which are a monstrous infantry, again with the standard regeneration trait. Poison attacks, low armor, but pretty decent weapon strength overall. And we've got 2 units of Fellbats just to be annoying. For my opponent's army here, he's got the Death's Creepers and the Mangy Marauders, both very good picks. The center is going to be Savage Orcs, which we don't get to see too often. Savage Orcs used to be kind of the meta pick, but then they got a little bit, some slight nerfs. They're still good, but I wouldn't say that they're meta by any stretch. In this particular matchup, though, they're pretty good because they have high weapon strength. They also have the Frenzy, so they're immune to psychology as long as their leadership is high. So he's got a mix of Savage Orcs and Savage Orc Biggins. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 Savage Orc Biggins with 5 Savage Orc Biggins, actually, with 2 Savage Orcs, a couple of Savage Orc Error Boys. We've got Wurzag, Rusty Errors, and a Giant as well. We've also got a unit of Night Goblins. It's not a regiment of renown, just regular Night Goblos here for the poison. And that's pretty much it. Wurzag's the Lord. He's got the Effigy to get, Foot of Gork, let's see what else. He's also got this Fist of Gork for that magic damage, Edbutt, which is a breath attack, which I haven't actually used much, so I'm curious to see. He's also got the Foot of Gork. No Here We Go, but he does have to get back here, and FG to get, of course. So let's go ahead and kick the battle into full gear, and we'll watch as things unfold. We're going to be bringing up the Vampire Force, obviously, since I have no ranged. Being the Vampires, we are going to advance here, just using the Fellbats to kind of harass and annoy these Death's Creepers and the Mangy Marauders. Honestly, with these Regiment of Renown greenskin light cav, if they just go into melee mode and countercharge on the bats, especially these Death's Creepers with their regeneration, they'll pretty easily be able to beat them in melee. So honestly, at this point, you could just stand and fight. But I do have these Varix Reavers and Dire Pack on station, so probably doesn't want to fight too close to them. But excuse me. But yeah, overall, looking good so far. This unit of Fellbats is soaking some fire, but they've been able to kind of annoy these Mangy Marauders and soak some of their arrows, so all good for me. we're going to be getting the charges underway in the main line here. Crypt Horrors, charging into Savage Orc Biggins is going to be pretty rough, all things considered, because of their anti-large bonus and high weapon strength, especially since I didn't immediately follow up with another unit to help soak hit points. Those Crypt Horrors, you can see, are going down in a very, very big hurry. In the center, though, things are going a bit better. The Crypt Ghouls have gotten in the flank of the Savage Orc Biggins. We've got the Mortis Engine in here. It is taking quite a bit of fire, but the Banshee's in here as well, and she's got heavy physical resistance and magic attacks, so she'll be able to cut through the physical resistance of the Savage Orc Biggins here. We've got the Giant moving in, Corpse Cart, everything coming in. A very nice Headbutt there, did quite a bit of damage, but you can see we're collapsing this flank with the Varix Reavers and the Hounds, easily dispatching that one Savage Orc, and now going to be tying down the Death's Creepers here. Of course, the anti-large bonus and heavy armor, all combined here, going to be very, very good against the Death's Creepers. Meanwhile, on the main line, it is turning into a little bit of a grind fest, but the Savage Orc Biggins, you can see, when they start to lose their leadership, they are going to, unfortunately, get terror out of the way once they lose that immune to psychology. And here comes Krell, looking very, very awesome as usual. Going to get in here and start giving Wurzag the business. Krell also does cause terror, so having all these units be attacked in the rear by a terror-causing unit is going to cause a major leadership issue for the Greenskins. You can see almost all the support units routed off. Only this one Savage Orc Biggin, the Giant, and Wurzag holding. Wurzag's trying to get away. We rolled up the Varix Reavers squad and collapsed on the Rusty Arrows here, and are now going to be turning our attention to trying to pin in Wurzag here. You can see Varix Reavers looking very cool. We're going to pull away from these Rusty Arrows here and then immediately try and get on Wurzag, pin him in place so that Krell can get a hold of him. You can see another very nice headbutt going down, doing a lot of damage, especially to the low armor skeletons and the zombies and so on. The Grave Guard won't take quite as much damage from that, but yeah, Mortis Engine's just about been taken down, so far the bounce power is slightly in my favor, but still pretty even all things considered. We're going to now set the Banshee to attack the Giant, and as long as the Banshee's standing on some other chaff unit, she's going to take relatively little damage from this Giant because of the way splash attacks work. Number one, the AI targeting will get distracted and attack the non-Banshee units. But even if it lands on the Banshee, it's going to get soaked on all the nearby unit models because of the way splash attacks work. So the full weapon strength isn't going to be imparted to her necessarily. She will take some damage here, but due to the physical resistance and the nearby units, it's going to be relatively little. We're going to summon up some more zombies here just to help with that. We've been summoning up quite a few zombies and just dropping those invocations. Here comes a nice foot of Gork from my opponent right on this dense pocket of Vampire Infantry. Going to be doing a ton of damage, probably crumbling away a few more units. But at this point, the Savage Orcs just aren't able to hold up their leadership. We've been able to collapse quite a few high-value units, and a lot of their skirmishers are going to be rallying here. But despite the fact that the Mortis Engine's gone, the Corpse Car with the Unholy Lodestone still relatively healthy. The Banshee's also relatively healthy as well, and I haven't caught if the Effigy to get has been used on her. I'd imagine that would be the best target, but you know, there's Krell, there's Kemmler himself as well, so it's going to be a victory for the Vampires. The Greenskins are a pretty tough matchup for the Vampires, but Exor is a very good player, so I figured it would be fun for him to try it out. So yeah, overall I like his build. There are a few things I might tweak here and there, but I definitely agree with most of his picks here. But yeah, at this point it's just going to be a matter of cleaning up what's left of the Greenskins. We're getting a nice rear charge here with these Hounds. Going to be hopefully triggering the terror from Krell and from the Banshee here. With that leadership drop, you can see the opponents are being terrified away. Effigy to get there being dropped on Kemmler to keep him from getting into melee to proc that Chaos Tomb Blade, so that in and of itself is pretty decent. But, you know, the magic damage is probably going to be a little bit more necessary on the Banshee, just because you really don't have many other options. I mean, Fists of Gork does impart magic damage as well, so, you know, if you were to get in a duelist situation, or get the Banshee surrounded by another unit, then you could pop that Fists of Gork, and they would beat her down real quick. But at this point, you can see the Giant's pretty well surrounded here. The Banshee's kind of poking him in the ankles, as are all these Grave Guard. Krell's getting in here as well, giving him the axe right to the crotch. So, yeah, good stuff. Krell's such a badass looking unit, man. I love the Undead Chaos Warrior aesthetic. It's super cool. But, yeah, at this point, we're just kind of cleaning up the back line with the Varix Reavers and the Hounds, getting on some of these last units of Savage Orcs that are still rallied. But, at this point, Giant's going to rout. We're going to finish off what's left of these Savage Orcs here. They are coming in for one beautiful charge here, but as soon as that Banshee comes close with Krell, they're not going to want to take that fight. So, well played to my opponent, Axore. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that battle. Little bit of a spotlight on the lore of vampires and what makes it so great. The healing and the zombie summons in particular are the two spells that you're pretty much always going to take because there's almost no situation where they're not useful. So, yeah, well played to Axore. Warzag himself ended up getting quite a few kills, and some of the Savage Orc biggins did very well for themselves. Overall, the Savage Orcs just got crumbled a little bit there in the center. Kind of a rough engagement there. 98 kills on the Giants, pretty solid. No XP chevrons, though. The Skirmish Cav did okay. They took out the bats early on, but then they weren't wildly useful after that. The firing line was able to take down the Crypt Horrors and the Mortis Engine without any issues, but it was more the heavy cavalry. Varix Reavers showing their power. 198 kills. Super good unit in this matchup. I like them quite a bit. Again, because the greenskins don't have access to a lot of fire damage, your regeneration units are going to be very useful. So the Sternsman as well, surviving there until the late game, the anchor of my infantry. 123 kills in the Dire Pack as well. Is very, very good for a relatively low-cost regiment of renown. 55 kills and 2 XP chevrons on the Mortis Engine. You can't ask for much more than that. And yeah, Kemmler getting 14 kills, Banshee getting 21. Unfortunately, we didn't see Krell's kill total there in the end. But yeah, well played to my opponent. Let's go ahead and just briefly discuss the rest of lore of vampires. For those of you who haven't seen, I do have a video where I get a really nice Winds of Death versus Lore Master of Sotek. So I'll have that link down in the description below if I can remember to do so. So that you guys can look at that. But that is kind of one of the other big spells for lore vampires. And the cool thing about vampires is you can't not take a caster because all of their lords are casters. They all have access to lore vampires, or in the case of Strigoi Ghoul King, a mix of death and vampires with a few unique spells. So we'll go ahead and go through those briefly here. Helman Gorst has a unique spell that summons either Graveguard, or if you overcast it, summons a White King. Rather than the zombie summon, the Strigoi Ghoul King, likewise, instead of a zombie summon, has either a Crypt Ghoul or Crypt Horror summon with the command of the Unliving here. Then the rest of the legendary lords just have the standard, you know, lore vampires kit. So Isabella, Vlad, Red Duke, Manfred has death and vampires, the full lores of both. But yeah, for Isabella, we'll go ahead and use her as the example here as we look through these spells. So Invocation, Dance Macabre, Raise Dead we've already seen. Wind of Death is a massive damage wind spell that if you overcast it does just an obscene amount of damage. So very costly, but potentially very rewarding, especially against factions rather that tend to bring a lot of elite tier infantry. Curse of Years is a decent debuff. 24% speed and 26 melee attack by itself is solid. Plus 15 ability recharge is a little bit low for how expensive the spell is. I think that should be more like a plus 30 or plus 45 ability recharge, but that's just me. Gaze of Nagash is an okay magic missile. It does a moderate amount of damage and can be useful for taking down large targets, but it used to be spammable because of a bug, but I believe they have fixed that. So generally though, I would definitely recommend these first three spells here. Dance Macabre, Invocation, and Raise Dead are going to be your bread and butter spells with the lore of vampires. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. We're going to be moving on to some of the more common lores, and then we'll dip back into the race-specific lores for something like Skaven and Greenskins. So let me know what you guys want to see next. Hope you enjoyed watching. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'm keeping it coming with more Total War Warhammer 2 content every single day, so stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.